Well, hello and welcome to Spiritual Conversation, honest and joyful explorations of ideas to help us align with our true spiritual purpose. I am your host, Jacqueline Claire, Mermaid of the Airwaves, here to take your hand and go on some deep dives together. And today's episode is kind of more like a PSA. I feel like there's a lot of collective stuff going on right now that we all have our own individual experiences of. The details of our lives are different, but I have a feeling we're all experiencing a similar and very unique kind of stress that is calling on our endurance, for one. But first, I would like to share with you my book, Noble Beings Spiritual Handbook for Children of All Ages, wink wink. And this is a compilation of 39 short passages from the wisdom of the Baha'i writings on universal topics for children and adults about connecting with our inner light, with our connection to our higher power, and of course, how that manifests in how we live and how we treat others. And each one of these quotes is hand illustrated with a super joyful, playful, and reverent illustration to help children understand the meaning of the passage and also see themselves in it so that children can internalize these powerful messages and memorize them and grow up with them and have a mental database of spiritual guidance for those moments in their lives when they need them. You know, a lot of my spiritual growth and my spiritual journey and psychological journey, which I bet you can relate to, has been a reclaiming of qualities that came to me very naturally as a child, you know, feeling of trust, of an ability to just unabashedly enjoy life, of being super open-hearted and friendly, you know. Hi, you want to be my friend? You know, do you remember those days? And we become socialized, we have hurtful experiences, all those sorts of things. We start to put barriers around our heart and lose touch with our grandeur. And then some of us, you know, in adulthood realize that we need it. We've lost something, we need to get it back. And we start that process of establishing those qualities as like a part of our character. And part of my inspiration for this book was the hope that maybe that process of socialization and growing up can be transformed so that rather than having to lose and reclaim, children can just harness that inner light and grow up with it and mature it into spiritual strength. Children are already such spiritual powerhouses, and how much like exponential can that power, that electricity, that spiritual vibrance be if it can just continue to grow. And then of course through generation it learns to do that. Oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. And as far as like morality and ethical orientations, like truthfulness, being concerned for the well-being of others, taking care of animals, taking care of the planet, being courteous, all of those qualities, you know, if one whole generation of children just really, really receive the support that they need to embody those qualities, would we not pretty much fix all of the problems in the world within a very short period of time? Like, how many problems come from a lack of truthfulness or of greed or a lack of respect for the earth or a lack of consideration for other people. And then if that sense of, goodness, that's kind of a, maybe not the strongest word, but if that ethical orientation was combined with education and intelligence, and mankind's intellectual pursuits were geared not just towards, relentless progress and weapons of mass destruction, but progress that was for the common good of mankind and for solutions to problems like in the environment or sustainability. If we just applied that intelligence to good causes without any hint of corruption or selfish motivation, folks, 20, 40, 60, 80 years, we would have a different planet and it will be beautiful and amazing. And, in the Baha'i faith, if a family has a boy and a girl and they can only afford to educate one, priority should be given to the girl because she will be a mother, likely she will be a mother, and influence the next generation, So I don't know why I decided to tell you that right then and there. I guess it was just about the importance of children. That's what it was. It's how these things are cumulative, right? If people are completely lost individuals, they can do their best to be the best parents they can, but it's going to be limited based on the chaos of their lives or their characters. But if a generation can be given the spiritual empowerment that they need, and then they have children, and they're able to foster even more in their own children, it's exponential. So it's super important. So I hope that you will support this book, Noble Beings, and buy it for all the children that you know in your life, in your neighborhood, in your communities. And if you want to have your book donated through me, I am partnering with this organization that flips the bedroom. So it goes in and totally redoes the bedrooms of children who have experienced trauma or abuse in their homes, violence or sexual abuse. And this organization is a resource for the FBI. Of course, they work hand in hand with therapists and everything when things are in alignment to help a child recover. And this organization called Room Redux redoes their room not only as a gift and a joy and a fun surprise, but to give them a safe space. If they experience trauma in their home, then that trauma lives on in them and is ever present in being in that same environment. So they transform their environment so that it feels like theirs and it feels safe and supportive. And this organization is headquartered, global headquarters in New Braunfels, Texas, where I live, which is amazing. And they are super stoked to provide noble beings in all of these redone bedrooms. I may not be able to provide them for all of their bedrooms. They do about 4 rooms globally a month. But you can have your books donated through me, and I will be giving them to Room Redux. And how amazing is that? These children who are recovering from trauma and abuse get a book that reminds them that they are a noble being. No matter what they have experienced, no matter what has been said or done to them, they are whole and spiritual and perfect in the eyes of their higher power, and they are a noble being. And this book gives them tools for how to progress and live and treat others. So Noble Beings, that's my pitch. It's available through December 8th on Indiegogo. And there are links below on the YouTube and in the show notes if you want to order that book and find a level of support that works for you. And back to our PSA, a friend told me that he watched the news for the first time in a while, and he watched 3 different channels, and each channel was spinning a different narrative. And they're probably all false, Like, if it's spin, it's false. And that, so that inability, being fed lies to one degree or another, half-truths, certain angles of truth, through an institution that we would like to trust, where we get our news, on top of a pandemic that not only has threatened our health and livelihoods, but has created just a strange new world, right? Where we're wearing masks and we don't hug each other, and people aren't having Thanksgiving with their families. I never really liked Thanksgiving, and yet I'm outraged. Like, we're not having Thanksgiving, So it's like, and then having the uncertainty of the election, and having the uncertainty of vaccines, and like, we are collectively under so much pressure right now. And it's like, how do you make someone crazy? You make them like insecure about every little thing, and you gaslight them, and you have things change, and when we're holding our breath for the next shoe to drop, and then we're like not getting enough oxygen, and like, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not trying to make it worse. I'm trying to just reflect back to you what you already know, that you are not crazy. You're just living through a really strange, stressful time, and we're all living through it together, and we're all having different experiences of it and different unique manifestations of it. And I have some thoughts on how to move through this with grace. And the first is to be connected with your own inner source of power and wisdom. I think one reason why people like to engage in risky behavior, whether it's drug use or, jumping out of airplanes, is that we so rarely connect with our own body and our own sense of I amness, that sometimes those thrills are the only time when we're feeling what it's like to be in our own body and to be aware of our own seat of consciousness in our heart. So I just want to invite you, either right now or later after you listen to this, to just tune in and feel that consciousness around your heart. It just puts your awareness there, and I am the only person who gets to be me in this life. And you are the wisest person to handle the circumstances of your own life. No one is better at knowing the best path for you than you are. And you got this. You got this. And I also urge you to, in this age of confusion and craziness, trust yourself and ask yourself hard questions. Like, what do I really think is true? Personally, if a pundit tells me to trust them, or not to look into something, or don't read the WikiLeaks or anything like that, I'm immediately suspicious. I'm just supposed to take your word for it? So ask yourself tough questions and spiritualize the process. I've talked about this before. If you pray, ask your higher power to show you the reality of the situations in your life or in the world. Show me what is true. And my sisterly advice to you is also say, and please help me handle it and deal with what you show me. And lastly, sometimes when I experience stress, my prayers become very desperate. You know, please help me, please help me, please help me, please help me. And I think a prayer is better than a not prayer. But when we get to that point where we must endure, I think a more powerful prayer is, please help me be the person that can get through this. Please help me be the person who can get through this with grace and in a way that makes my world and the world of other people better. All right, my friends, I'm going to leave you there. Thank you so much for being a collaborator with me on this planet at this really strange time. That's something, right? We are all here right now together. And don't give in to division. Even if you can't connect on an intellectual basis because you disagree with people, you can connect with your heart and just remember that all of humanity, we all experience the same emotions even when we have different views about things. And that's a really powerful way to put energy into connection instead of division. And order my book, all right? There's links below. Thanks so much for joining me in this spiritual discussion. I wish you the best for playing your part in making this world a better place. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.